Gamers, hello, my name is Tasty, I make RuneScape videos, and I put them on the internet. If you are brand new to old school RuneScape, or maybe you're considering playing it for the first time and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or if you just want to learn about the game in general, then this video is exactly what you need. I'm going to give you a little bit of context into how old school fits into the MMO genre as a whole, but if you've already started playing and you just want to skip to the tips, I will put a timestamp down in the description below. So, why should you play RuneScape? Well, RuneScape is unique because it's one of the longest lasting MMOs, which is a genre where 90% of the games burn out very quickly. See New World. Old School is one of the few MMOs that throughout its lifespan has been on an upward trajectory of growth and is still growing. And there's a very good reason for that. Longevity in MMOs really has to be facilitated by the game giving players an intrinsic reason to keep playing the game. New World hooked players very quickly with an exciting early game and new mechanics and things like that, but players, when they got to the end game, they realized that it was flat and repetitive, and now New World is all but dead. Old School takes a much different approach than pretty much every other modern MMO that we have. Endgame is pretty much all there is for games like World of Warcraft. It takes roughly a week to get a character to max level, and then you sit there grinding the endgame dungeons and raids. RuneScape, however, puts a much bigger emphasis on both the early and the middle game. There's literally thousands of hours of content that you can do before you reach anything close to the late game in old school RuneScape. On top of that, the devs regularly add content to the middle and early games. And by the way, max level is not even required to be what I would call a late game player in old school RuneScape. Some of the best players in the game do not have maxed accounts. It took me personally a bit over 4,000 hours to reach 2277 total, which is max level or 99 in every skill in the game. And people still made fun of me for how quickly I did it. All of this to say that RuneScape is significantly different. It is the personification of the journey versus the destination. Now, with all that out of the way, we do have some huge pieces of content coming into the game soon, including the third ever raid in old school RuneScape's history, which is massive, coming out sometime this summer. So I am expecting a big influx of players to dip their toes into the game and see if this is something that they would like to play. So in this video, I'm not going to tell you guys what to do. I'm going to tell you guys how to figure out what you want to do and if this game is a good fit for you. Little background on me, I have nearly 10,000 hours in old school RuneScape, and I have done pretty much every piece of content to completion. So here is my advice for people just entering the world of RuneScape. And a little disclaimer to my returning viewers, I know typically I am not so ironically toxic and elitist, but the one thing that I truly want for this game is the community to grow. So today we're gonna be nice to people, all right? But once you're good enough to flame, I will flame you, all right? Just forewarning. Hold up real quick. You guys see my character here? You know what's the most iconic thing about it? It's not the glasses, it's not the mustache, it's the hair. It just doesn't look the same like this. And that's why our sponsor for today's video is Keeps. Keeps is a subscription service that makes it easy and affordable for men to treat male pattern baldness. You get online doctor consultations, automated shipping and delivery, access to your doctor via online messaging, and generic options for FDA-approved medications for hair loss. Now, I am no stranger to this issue, okay? I suffer from what is called the Zolra's Island hairline, and the YouTube comments don't let me forget it. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they are 35. The best way to prevent this is to do something about it while you still have hair. Prevention is key in this scenario. Keeps treatments typically start working within 4 to 6 months, so it is important that you act fast. There's the old proverb that says the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, the second best time is now. That applies here. Keeps is also affordable. They offer generic versions of FDA-approved medications, which cuts down on the cost tremendously. So come find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors and is trusted by hundreds of thousands of men across the world to prevent their hair loss. Hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/tastylife or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/tastylife. Thank you to Keeps for sponsoring this video. The first piece of advice I have to give new players, as soon as you step off Tutorial Island, okay, look at your skill list. There are 23 skills in RuneScape. I want you guys to try every single one of those skills to see what you like. Now, as I stated earlier, RuneScape is a significantly different MMO than pretty much any other MMO on the market. And I would know this because I have played pretty much all of them. And I'm willing to wager a good amount of you guys also played when you were younger as well. So a TLDR for the 10 to 15 years you've missed. The game is mechanically similar to what it was when we played when we were younger. But now we understand so much more about the game, the engine. We are significantly better players. And all of this has led to a massive paradigm shift in how we go about playing RuneScape. So a little bit of base knowledge first. There are 23 different skills in Old School RuneScape, each with their own distinct feel and purpose. We have combat skills like attack, strength, and defense that will help you kill monsters throughout the game. We have gathering skills like woodcutting and mining that help you get GP and resources. And there are also a set of skills called buyables, which cost money and resources, but give you some certain perks along the way. Now, when you first step off Tutorial Island and you are a little bit confused on what to train, don't worry, you're not alone. The early game is, in my opinion, where we lose the most players. It's relatively fast, but it can also feel very one-dimensional at times. You don't have a lot of options on how to train your skills, usually you only have one or two, and they might not necessarily be that fun for you. Quick side note, by the way, if you want to figure out how to train a certain skill, there are two easy ways that you can do that. First, open the skill tab found here in game and just click on the skill that you want to learn about. It will tell you the methods that you have and the levels that you unlock those methods. Or, a little bit more succinct, is to use the RuneScape wiki, but we are going to get into that. Now, what really drove me when I first started playing RuneScape, and what also happens to be our second piece of advice, is to set goals. RuneScape does not tell you what to do. There is no Skyrim objective marker over the next place that you have to go to or the next skill you have to train. And I think this is actually a very common feeling in really, really large scale games, that the freedom of what to do can be paralyzing. Sometimes you feel like you're not doing it right, but I assure you, you probably are. Now, it might not be the most thrilling thing to sit there and chop the same tree for a couple hours, but inevitably, like those cookie clicker games, it gets really addicting really fast. You can unlock new types of trees to cut, which will lead you to new areas in the game. You'll unlock new axes, which help you chop faster, and you get more and more XP. And before you know it, after a couple episodes of your favorite anime on some weeb website that I'm sure you go to, sitting there, chopping, burning some logs, alright, you have unlocked Wintertod. Wintertod is one of several skilling minigames in RuneScape, which help you level up your skills and make money in a pretty fun and interactive way, instead of the traditional and potentially less engaging methods. So it's a really common early game goal for a lot of players. But that is only one small and short path for two of the skills in the game. So, the greater question, how can you figure out what goals to set? Well, the advice that I give to every single player in every single one of my videos makes a return. Surprise. Do your quests. The quest log can be found here in game, and there are well over 100 quests in RuneScape with varying difficulty, with different requirements, which, by the way, quest requirements are a fantastic goal in and of themselves. And of course, varying rewards. They're actually really good quests too. It's not like the WoW style, go to this location and kill 8 boars type of quest. The RuneScape quests have funny dialogue, well-written stories, and a myriad of different mechanics that you can kind of explore. The quests will range from the easy difficulty all the way up to the Grandmaster difficulty. Each of those coming with different skill requirements, gear requirements, and even other quests as prerequisites, which leads to this very natural feeling flow of how you progress in RuneScape. In fact, I saw this tweet by one of the developers of the game, and it made me realize how intuitive and unique the progression system in Old School RuneScape really is, once you're able to sink your little fingers into it. This dev wanted to do a quest, but they needed a certain item to do it, so while they were going and killing the monsters that dropped that item, they happened to get themselves a medium level clue scroll, which is, it's like a little treasure hunt with different requirements. It takes you around the map, and it can give you really good rewards. Well, from that clue, they got a master level clue, and they realized they needed a certain fishing level to complete that clue. So it was just this whole chain of events that they ended up doing something different for hours at a time, progressing their account that way, all because they wanted to do one quest. Now, quests, on top of guiding your progression in that sense, can also unlock really cool pieces of gear, even skills, areas of the map, and they give you XP in the skills you used in the quest. This makes it so there's a lot of methods where people won't even train low-level skills. They will just do certain quests that get them up to the level they need for another quest. Thus, the cycle repeats. Now, I would like to add as a quick side note, this is like a sub-tip. Please, for the love of God, download RUNELITE from runelite.net. The .net is very important. It's a third-party client that runs RuneScape with some really incredible quality of life features as well as performance features. Fear not, it is 100% allowed by Jagex, and there's even a link to it on the Jagex homepage, which I actually recommend you get to the client from there, because there is a slew of scam websites out there that will give you a rat client that will eventually just steal your account. So be very careful navigating to runelite.net. Anyway, the main reason I bring that up is because there is an add-on on RuneLite called Quest Helper. Questing traditionally has not been super popular among players. You either love it or you hate it, but Quest Helper really streamlines the experience of RuneScape questing. There was even a little bit of controversy surrounding this plugin when it was first released. A lot of the RuneScape elitists said that it was too easy and it made it easy-scape. But don't worry, because those guys have anime profile pictures and underage Discord girlfriends, so welcome to RuneScape. Do your quests. Next point is something I brought up earlier, but I want to expound upon, and that is to use the RuneScape wiki. I'll link it down below. I recommend you guys bookmark it. The wiki is an incredible wealth of information. Pretty much every question you might have about RuneScape is answered on the wiki. Me personally, I read almost every page of this when I was first getting into the game. There are skill guides, quest guides, money-making guides. Every tool that you need as a new player to break into a piece of content in RuneScape. There's even an integrated wiki button in the game itself. Check this out, check this out. Right below the minimap, there's this wiki icon, alright? Click on the wiki icon, and then click on an object or NPC, and the wiki page is pulled up automatically. How sick is that? No other MMO I have ever played gives you such easy and intuitive access to information about the game. This has actually resulted in the community having probably the deepest pool of knowledge about the game in any community I've ever been in. RuneScape players love theory crafting, sometimes more than they like playing. We're a strange bunch. Moving on. We're gonna switch gears, okay, to a little bit of street smarts for this next one. Be wary of scams, okay? Approach every interaction you have in RuneScape with a bit of a grain of salt. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Scratch that. It definitely is. Scammers very much tend to prey on newer and less knowledgeable players because it works. I have never seen scammers as smart and as intricately well planned out as the scammers in RuneScape. However, they can also be pretty stupid. If you sit at the GE, you'll notice a bunch of like spam bots. They're kind of targeted to snag the lower IQ or like newer players who don't really understand how the trading system or the Grand Exchange works. And based on the amount of those things that I see, apparently they work pretty well. However, this is not to say don't make friends, okay? A huge majority of the players in RuneScape are some of the most genuine and kind people you'll ever meet. You can make some really solid friendships by just hanging out in the hub areas of the game, like the Grand Exchange. It's one of the last games that I feel has the true MMO aspect still left, where socialization with other players to complete content is still required. Especially when you get to late game with things like raids. We don't have a group finder. That does not exist in RuneScape. You're forced to talk to people, alright? Add them to your friends list if you enjoyed playing with them. Play with them again. Build out a network of players that you enjoy spending your time with. But fear not, I know it's kind of daunting to a lot of people in the modern MMO landscape. There are a lot of avenues that facilitate this, both player and dev run. On that note, my next piece of advice is to be active in the community. Oldschool RuneScape is hands down the most dedicated and connected community that I have ever been a part of. It's kind of shocking, considering its overall size, how intimate it can feel at times, for better or for worse. Like I was saying earlier, it feels like one of the last true MMOs on a lot of levels. The effort that you put into making friends and being active will directly reflect in the results that you get. So watch as many creators as you can on YouTube. Which, by the way, subscribe if you've made it this far and you enjoy RuneScape content. You can browse the Reddit forums at r/2007scape. The developers themselves are really active on that subreddit. Though I feel morally obligated to give a disclaimer with this one. it's a very useful forum, but it tends to be a very casual side of the player base, so a lot of the opinion pieces that you see will be kind of misleading and poorly thought out. Just try your best not to bandwagon. That's the main piece of advice I'm giving you here. Past that, our Twitter culture is thriving and only partially toxic. You can join clans in-game that focus on socializing, skilling, PVM. There are a slew of discords that fit your every need. Oh, and best of all, we have the best goddamn Twitch streamers in existence. Which, if that's more your speed, check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/TastyLife. I do stream 5 days a week. If you come into my chat and say potatoes, I'll give you a free kiss. But beyond the self-plug, genuinely, go look at the category, interact with the streamers, interact with the chat. You're gonna see a lot of familiar names around. It's a very tight-knit community. And on top of all that, you'll learn a lot about the game while you're doing it. The culture is genuinely my favorite aspect of old school RuneScape, and I think it's a large part of why I still play and I don't feel burned out. It would be a shame to miss out on it. Last but not least, guys, please, for the love of God, play the game at your own pace. I get so many people that ask me, what's the fastest way to get to raids? Or how can I make enough GP to afford gear for this super endgame boss? First off, I would like to say that the progression system in RuneScape is set up such that when you are ready for a piece of content, you should have the skills and the money to go there. If you don't have that, it's probably a sign that you need to work on something else first. I would also like to take this moment to give a callback to something that I said at the very start of the video. RuneScape, however, puts a much bigger emphasis on both the early and the middle game. There's literally thousands of hours of content that you can do before you reach anything close to the late game in old school RuneScape. There is a massive amount to enjoy early on. And the last thing that I think especially a new player should be doing is bum rushing that early and middle game content, just to get to some end game, ultra late game PVM and raids. I've seen a lot of people fall victim to this, where they will spend hundreds of hours doing activities that they don't like, just because it's a faster way to get to some really, really late game goal for them. It is a quick and a dangerous road to burnout and quitting the game. With that being said, I mean, things like that, like raids and really late game stuff, are fantastic long-term goals. Just don't sacrifice your early experience because you saw some streamer do it and you thought it looked cool. Like I said earlier, I have nearly 10,000 hours in this game, and I did not even touch Theater of Blood, which is like our highest level group content that we have. I did not touch that for the first 5,000 hours. I'm not even kidding. Anyway, gamers, I appreciate you all watching. Thank you very much. Once again, like, comment, subscribe if you would like to support me. I would appreciate that if you enjoyed the video. And if you are new and you're going to be starting up RuneScape soon, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear about your experiences. And if you are a returning player or a returning viewer, leave a comment down below with any tip or trick that you think that I might have missed, because I'm sure I glossed over a few things. Thank you all. Remember, just stay tasty.
Woo. Don't even think for a second, nigga, you might need a moment. You were only given one shot like a buzzer beater, but you stoned it. Brick house, brick house, brick house, brick house. Living bricks at the studio, here's a brick on the house, here's a brick on the house. Yeah, you know they're coming quick, just like SWAT in the drug bust, but I'm slick, bitch, call me Rick.